Hello and welcome to this B1 Usability Package e-learning session. My name is Rasmus Jensen and the topic of this session is Universal Function Advanced, where we'll be looking into the must-have specific value function. So here we are in Business 1 with a Universal Function configuration open, and let us choose the must-have specific value. Let's maximize so we can see all the columns. The must-have specific value is a kind of advanced version of mandatory fields. It essentially works exactly the same way as mandatory fields. We have separate sessions on that as well if you want to, where you go in and define which items should have a value, but instead of just being mandatory, a value or not, you have the option to specify valid values. So let's have a look at that and try to do that on Business Partner Master Data. So in our scenario, what we want to do is we want to make payment terms have some rules about total discount. These rules could be that we want to have that total discount could either be 0, 5, 10 or 15. It should be no other values that exactly those. So for that reason we couldn't just make it mandatory, because then you're allowed to put in any value. So in order to do this, the first thing we need to know is, with system information turned on, we need to see that this is item 83. We need to create a name for the configuration and put in that 83 is the item we want to check. In our case we don't have any columns, but you could have done this on row level as well. This was total discount as description. We don't need to ignore the last line, we can just leave it be because we don't have any column level. And we need to check what type of value we have in here. Strings is just alphanumeric, numbers is whole integers, currency is decimal numbers, and dates are, dates. So in this case it's because we can say point something, we need to put in it as currency. And then we need to provide what valid values we actually want. And in our case we wanted 0, and semicolon divides the different values, 5, 10 and 15. In our case we don't really have an empty value, that's mostly if you wanted to use this for a combo box. So let's say add, and we now have our configuration. However, the configuration doesn't do, it's not hooked up to something, so it's not running at all. So what we need to hook it up to is a B1 validation, and in my case I've chosen that it is every time you try to add, we actually check the total discount. So using B1 validation, I can right click and say add validation configuration before SAP, and give it a name. The B1 validation itself have its own e-learning session, so please check those out if you don't know the validation system. But right now we just hook it up to our valid values and add it. So let's try to use it. Put in a code, something not in the database, just customer, and let's provide a value that shouldn't be allowed, the value of 6, and let's try to add. And as you can see, it will now tell us the following fields must have values, and that is total discount, where valid is 0, 5, 10 or 15. If I put in a value of 5, I will of course be able to add it. And let me find the customer again here. Here it was. In update I've set it to the same that's the validation triggering that. So if I say 6, it's not a valid value. So this is okay for some fixed values like 0, 5, 10 or 15. But what if you actually want a range? Well, we can do that as well. So let me try to put in the range system. You just give the first value you want to have, then a dash, so 0 to 15 for example. So every value between 0 and 15 should now be allowed. If I press update, I should be able to work with my value 6 now, and I can do that. 8, 7, 8, no matter what value, but as soon as we go above 15, like 16, it will now say that the value should be between 0 and 15. So in summary, you can put up your item codes, put as many as you want, and a little more advanced mandatory fields where you can actually set either a specific set of values that it must be, or a range of value like this. This concludes this session. For training material, please go to service.boyum-it.com/education, or if you want a free demo of the product, go to license.boyum-it.com/b1up. If you want to contact us, you can do it either by our sales email or our support email. Thank you for attending.